Hollywood, deep, dark, that source of infinite entertainment, wonder, and mystery. Home for the beautiful, the ugly, the rich, the poor, and the weird. In the following film, you will experience individuals whose lives dwell beyond the boundaries of understanding and may appear unusual, freaky, and bizarre. Man is an animal of compassion and evolution. What we don't understand, we can learn from. What you are about to see is an eye-opening journey into the underbelly of Hollywood. Porn stars, freak shows, transvestites, and fire eaters exist among the rich and famous as an integral part of the entertainment industry. These are the underdogs, the unsung heroes of the business. Join our host, Dark Infinity, as we begin our journey at the California Institute for Abnormal Arts, where Carl Crew gives a tour of many of the freaks and oddities that await you behind their alluring doors. Welcome to Hollyweird.
My name is Carl Crew, and I am a writer, I'm an actor, I'm a producer, and I do a mean soft shoe, and many, many things. I was a mortician. I had an antique store in the Haight-Ashbury. Basically, I grew up in a repertory theater group from a kid till I was like 20 for like 17 years. And I studied film, and I decided to move to Hollywood. And I got down here. 6 months later, I got my first lead role in Blood Diner. And I actually met one of the producers, Bill Osco, who was famous for such wonderful hits as Alice in Wonderland X, which was really R back then, and Flesh Gordon. And he was like 23, and he made like $23 million like 50 years ago. I mean, you know what kind of money that is. He moved into the Bee Gees mansion, you know, like, wow. Anyway, so we started making movies together. And I did one more movie with Jackie Kong and Bill Osco. They were married. It was called The Underachievers. And originally Night School, but they had to change the name. But my co-star, Rick Burks, brilliant actor, fantastic. He was Blood Diner. We got two little roles in Underachievers and stuff. And then I started writing and producing and making my own films with Bill Osco. Gross Out, Urban Legends, Lunch with Larry. And we were talking on the phone one night, and he's going, you know what? You look exactly like Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm like, I'm going to punch you. And then I go, huh. And then I literally got on the computer, and I found the police interviews with Jeffrey, and I wrote the script for Jeffrey Dahmer, The Secret Life. And we immediately got funding for that, and we did it. And we did it in secret. That's what I told the trades. You know, I said, we're shooting this in secret. And my fax machine exploded with 20,000 faxes in 1 month. Literally, there's a puff of smoke coming from it. If you ever want to do something and get it out there, you tell people doing this part in secret for whatever reason, and everyone gloms onto you. But that got a lot of press. It never was released in the theaters, though. Just went straight to video, but we had just a lot of press. We did Maury Povich, and we did Milwaukee's Talking. And I literally got interviewed at Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment door. And I reached out and touched the door, and the next day the paper said, oh yeah, that Carl Crew, he made love to Jeffrey Dahmer's door. And I'm like, wow, this is hilarious publicity. The director was pissed. Yeah, he was like, no, that's terrible. I go, relax. Publicity is publicity. And then when we did Milwaukee's Talking, the family, we kind of, you know, of course a movie's going to be made about one of the most heinous serial killers. So we settled them down. But by the time we got to Maury Povich, they had whipped him into a frenzy. So it was the Barbecue Carl Crew show, which I'm a debater, and I loved it. But I got called Jeffrey Dahmer #2, you know, and all this stuff. Actually, I have a Facebook page, it's called Jeffrey Dahmer, The Secret Life, and it's about the film, and the archived Maury Povich is on there, so if you want a cheap thrill. But then I got involved with making, I got involved with Chris Miller. We did a bunch of films together, not lead roles. I've always had lead roles, but for a while I was so busy with this club we've had for 25 years. And California Institute of Abnormal Arts. We're still here after 25 years. Freak shows, magic shows, puppet shows. We have a museum. We're in the Ripley's hardback book last year because I have 3 dead bodies from 100 years ago. And I used to be a mortician. I lived in a mortuary for 5 years, and I know all the rules. And pre-1925, I don't need a permit. So I have a dead clown and 2 dead Chinese magicians. And, and so, but...
Mention your book. Freak
I'm
Show
sorry?
Los Angeles?
Say again?
Freak Show Los Angeles, the book?
Well, that was a book that got ruined. This is the original book. Okay? And it's 500 pages full of color. It's full color. And this guy did a deal with me. He's like, yeah, we want to publish this book. And he put it down to 200 pages. And he screwed it all up and made blank pages so you could write notes. Like, what are you doing? And finally, his company went bankrupt and I got my rights back. It was ridiculous. I was furious when I saw it. But yeah, this is literally about 18 years of all the press, all the publicity, the whole story, every freak show picture, every flyer I ever designed for 25 years. Hold on. I'll wait for this to go by. Okay. Oh, it's good. Anyway, so I did it on CreateSpace, and we got like 300 copies, and it cost me $39 a book to print. And we had to sell it for like $45, And it's like a textbook. But I got to deal with Amazon. They go, oh yeah, we'll give you some money for every book. I go, really? How much? He goes, a penny? And I'm like, no. The club started here, and we had some really amazing people attracted to the club. And a friend of mine was a producer, and he goes, dude, I have to show you something. And I said, what? He showed me this DVD of a thing called Happy Turkey Day with Shay St. And it literally blew my mind. I didn't know what I was looking at. And I said, I have to meet this person. Whoever these people are, I have to meet them. So he gave me Eric's number, and I called him up, and we struck it off, and he came over here, and he introduced me to Shay St. Who was it's an enigma. There were 2 separate people, Eric and Shay. I worked with them both for 10 years. Shay was a handicapped, she was in a train wreck. She was put into a military hospital, and they had been doing all this MK Ultra stuff there, and they thought they'd killed her. They did the most implantation they've ever done on anybody. And there were cool people in the hospital that snuck her out and hid her in an art colony. And that's where my friend Eric met her. And so he would bring her over here, and we would give her some props and wigs and whatever, and set her up with something. And it's very hard to talk to her. She talked like this. Again, again, again. I mean, it was like, and she wore a wig mask over her face. When you go into a wig store, the same face that's on all the wigs, that was her face. In other words, she bought 100 of those because she was disfigured. I've never seen her face, and I worked with her for 10 years. No one has ever saw her face. And she was in a wheelchair, and she had to have her arms and legs amputated because of the lack of flow of blood or whatever. And she didn't want prosthetics, so she used mannequin arms and legs. And she was just a movie star. She thought she was a movie star. It was like so bizarre. And I was in horror and roaring with laughter for 10 years. And eventually my friend Eric drank himself to death. He just died. And and then everyone said, oh, R.I.P. Eric, R.I.P. Shay, because everyone thought he played Shay. Well, I waited 3 years, and then I made a little tiny movie with Larry Wessel. And it's called Shay St. Trigger Happy. And it tells the real story. Shay is still alive. She's in a witness protection program. The people that snuck her out of the hospital, they knew Eric was dying. And they made a deal with him to help him. If he could do one Shay St. video making it look like he played Shay so she could escape into a witness protection program. I mean, this is 10 years. It's the weirdest stuff I've ever... You can get you can order Triggers compilation on the internet. And these are the early Shays. We used to do them here, and then Eric would render his stuff. It would take weeks because back in the day, like before 2000 or right around 2000, very primitive. And It was like you do it like 10 minutes and render it for 2 weeks. It's crazy. But he would come here and drop them off, and we would screen them here. And we were the first people to show Shay St. John. And people would just walk out going, "What did I just see?" It was so great. It added to the whole mystery of the Institute. So before she left, I talked to her. I said, if you ever just call me sometime and make sure you're okay. I want to know you're okay. And I said, but when you do, say this word. And I said the word, and she said it, and she, hello again. That wasn't the word. That's how she was. And 3.5 years later, I got a call from a restricted number, and I heard hello again. I'm like, there's been other people that have tried to call and say, yeah, I'm Shay St. Okay, what's the word? No one could say it. I heard it. 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, you're okay. And she goes, I'm okay. And that was it. Click, and that was it. So I know she made it. I know she's out there somewhere, but I just hope she comes back. I don't know how weird it's going to be without Eric to do his brilliant editing on. But yeah, that was really an amazing part of my life. I was just, they wrote an article. They just came out with huge articles. She got press all over the world. Bizarre Magazine, Girls and Corpses interviewed her here in person. That was weird. And she made a couple appearances here and signed stuff and with her rubber hands. And it was so bizarre. But it was just Vice Magazine just came out with a huge article on Shay St. John. And they interviewed people. There was this woman named Lenora Claire, gorgeous chanteuse and an art critic. And she's actually in the news right now with, she got stalkers, and she got legislation passed for stalking. It was really good. It's just that she's on the news, but she used to come and do these shows. So she did Apocalyptic with Kit and Natividad, and they had Shay show up, and she signed stuff. But she was chosen by the people that wanted to help Shay escape as the person that would see a fake costume draped over a chair. So she'd say, Eric is Shay. So it was orchestrated that. And I just recently told her that. I never even told her that. And so she was the one that, So in the article from Vice Magazine, that's what. And then they interviewed me, and I'm like, no, that's not it. But anyway, it was just wonderful. It was wonderful to be involved with such a electric burst of creative energy. And he was a maximalist artist, and that's what I am. I'm a maximalist. Why bother with being anything else? My great uncle was Jerry Crew. Jerry Crew was a logger, along with my father and my other uncle. Jerry Crew took the first plaster cast of Bigfoot in 1958 on Mount Shasta, and literally changed the name from Sasquatch to Bigfoot with his discovery. They took it to the Humboldt Times, and they took a picture of him holding the cast. It went worldwide. This is 1958. Yeah. So in the cryptozoological world, all the people that do all this stuff, they all know who Jerry Crew is. He's like the grandfather. Even though Bigfoot went back hundreds of years with sightings of wild men. But I've been doing research and writing a script about the life of Jerry Crew, interviewing everyone who's left alive. Like, I interviewed Peter Burns. He's like 90 years old. He was he hunted the Yeti in the Himalayas, and he was hired by an amazing guy named Tom Slick from Texas, who was a millionaire. These people, they described Peter Burns as the Don Quixote, Indiana Jones. This guy went out, amazing books by this guy. And I interviewed him 3 times, and amazing stuff I got out of him. And so my other uncle, who was there, my father was also there, he gave me 50 years of yellowed articles and cutouts of Bigfoot articles that I've been pouring through and going to the scripts. It's like family history. It was amazing. It was amazing. I'm almost finished with it too. So that's what I've been working on lately. But I did write the sequel to Blood Diner called Blood Dinner. And I have about 10 scripts I finished. And it's just, I'm really trying to balance my time between the club, which takes up all my time, and get back heavy into more filmmaking, because that's what I love to do. I just love to create stuff. So this club has always been just constant creating stuff and doing new stuff and trying out stuff and yeah, it's been a very interesting road. Yeah.
Where do you see the future of your club?
Sold. I want to go full heavy. I mean, I'm an artist, you know. It's like this is 25 years. I think that's enough. Hey, I have no idea. You know, I know very specifically. I want to start getting back into heavy. Yeah, and just wherever my muse takes me.
My next stop was a visit to a classroom.
But this isn't your typical kind of class. It was an outdoor one at night. And they weren't teaching math or physics, but rather fire eating. Professional fire eater Derek Verman teaches classes on a weekly basis to those interested in learning the craft. He's performed at Knotfest and Lost Lands and worked alongside Dr. Phil's son. He had a few moments between lessons to sit down and tell us about what makes this a unique, magical, and one-of-a-kind skill.
I've been a fire performer since 2007, performing with like poi and staff and fans and things like that. And I guess later on it started getting into more of like fire and circus performances. Then fire eating was kind of introduced to things. It was introduced to my world. I just kind of like jumped in there, got into it, tried to figure out what it was. I knew some people in the circus world who were into it, and they introduced me to it. And I fell in love with the fire just doing fire performance, but I fell in love with fire again, like over again, even deeper once I got into fire eating. It's just a different way of handling the fire. It's what more people would call fire manipulation, and it's just really controlling it and just with your mouth and with the torches and getting really just up close with the fire. It ends up being like there's a breaking down of certain fear barriers that you go through when you're learning to eat fire or breathe fire, and getting past those just makes you feel so different about it all. Yeah, so it becomes a passion. It really like gets into a passion right away. Yeah. Well, the classes that I'm teaching, I know that fire eating has become a lot more popular in the past 5 years. We've been, like me and a lot of other people have been kind of developing it more in the past 5 to 10 years than it has in its whole lifetime of it being done. Even hundreds of years ago, people were doing fire eating, but the kind of stuff we're doing now, we've started to like raise the bar up. And now because of that, it's been being seen everywhere. A lot of people are trying to get into it, but not everybody's learning the correct way. There's like a proper way to go through it that makes it fun, makes it safe, makes it healthy, to where you're not gonna like, there's a lot less chance of you burning yourself, and at the same time, it allows you to really expand on all the tricks that there are. So I just really want to make it accessible. Some people are still gonna go try it in their backyard, and I don't want them to do that. I want to be at least out there so that I can teach them the right way. They can expand on it from there with other people they know that are fire eaters. But as long as they learn the proper techniques of it and safety, learn about the kind of fuels and stuff like that, then hopefully they're going to grow in a good environment. In my hometown, I started my own kind of troupe there. We started doing shows, birthday parties, events, fundraisers, then music festivals and things like that were going on in my town. But then I started getting these bookings for outside of it too, and that really started around the time where I teamed up with Dangerous D Shock Show to go do Knotfest, and I ended up doing that 2 years. I've done some other shows like that too, like Blackest of the Black, and also Lost Lands, which was out there in Ohio. And then even got booked for a show doing Dr. Phil's son, Jordan, his Dirty 30 birthday party. I went and performed for that. And so, I've taken a little fire eating and breathing thing to a lot of different big music festivals and private parties, and so that's what I've been doing with it. Yeah.
So what does the future hold for you then?
Oh, the future, I would love to be able to either be part of or to start my own kind of performance troupe where we really push the boundaries of the artistic side of it all. And I think that's my goal. I mean, like going to these festivals and doing these things, it feels more like I'm out there. It's like an ambiance, like just in the background, kind of doing these things. But I want I really want to create like a showcase for displaying the real art behind it. It's like fire eating and these things are kind of like half magic, half flow, and half performance. And I want it's already known that people can do fire eating, but I want to show what kind of magic of performance you can do with it. And I want to be able to create a venue for that or to be part of that. And then to see more people involved in that and try to get more people to connect to it. Getting real just like deep in the musicality of the fire art itself and the performance. You know, it's just a crazy thing to see that you're taking this element of fire and it's already within us to draw away from it and to not have it anywhere near us, and for it to just exist how it is, and for it to be something that we almost see as kind of uncontrollable. But through fire eating and other fire manipulation arts, we're learning the science of it, the nature and how it works, and being able to manipulate that. So some of the things that we're doing, we're not just eating the fire, not just putting it in our mouth, but we're taking it out and now it's burning the vapor and we're able to just let fire come out of our mouths. It's something that when anybody sees that hasn't seen it before, they're just like, wait, how is that happening? How is that possible? And it's really just the science of it, and there's no real magic trick to it. A lot of people will talk about magic as there being a trick, some sort of deception behind it, but with fire eating, there are no tricks. It just is literally what we're doing. You're seeing fire come out of your mouth, and it's not supposed to be something that is supposed to be there, but we're able to just control it, and that becomes the magic behind it. I'm Derek Verman, and I eat fire.
In Hollywood, horror is hot, so we couldn't pass up an opportunity to catch up with horror hostess Molia, the queen of screams.
Good evening, my victims. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Molia, the queen of screams. Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Nangle, and I am the creator and actress of Molia, the Queen of Screams. To be honest with you, I never wanted to be a horror hostess. This was never in the plans. Filmmaking was never in the plans. Basically, what happened was about almost 4 years ago, there was a film franchise that was released with a woman's name in the title, and I had noticed that it had always had male directors, but and then usually the female lead was always like a victim of some sort. So I wanted to be a part of this franchise and be a female director, also have a female voice, and maybe have a lead female badass, fight back. So I wrote the treatment and I sent it off to the creator, and he politely declined it. But one of the producers who had read it really encouraged me to pursue my idea because he thought that it was really interesting. So not being under the film franchise and the restrictions of it, I knew I still wanted to keep that badass female lead character, but I wanted to go in a direction where I could talk about a horror genre that wasn't being talked about very much. So a couple months later, I went to Son of Monsterpalooza, and that was the year that they were celebrating Elvira. And I was so amazed at her current popularity. I mean, she was famous back in the 80s. I mean, it's been several decades, and yet there were crazy amounts of people waiting in line for her, just to only have 2 minutes with her, just to say, hi, how are you, take a quick picture, get a signature, and that was it. My mind was blown over that situation. So I thought, okay, horror hosting, nobody's talking about it. That could definitely have obviously a strong female character. So that's what I wanted to have my feature film be about. I stand corrected now. I understand that there are still many, many horror hosts and hostesses across the nation, if not worldwide, still on public access, still hosting, films and stuff like that. But at the time, I had no idea. So I got to researching. I went down the route of the original, who I think is one of the original horror hostesses. I started researching Vampira, and I know that one of her icons or who she was referencing off of was Morticia Addams and the Addams family. So I took a little bit of Vampira, a little bit of Morticia, luckily found this dress on Amazon Prime, and got to trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the character. So while I was writing the feature film, I was super huge and a fan of Blair Witch Project and how they put their film out. They made it that it was real. And so I kind of wanted to go that route and make this character real. I also thought that if I had a stable fan base when I was done with the feature film, I would already have that fan base, I would already have that numbers, and it would be easier for distribution. So my boyfriend and I, we came up with some press pictures. I reached out to some horror bloggers, and on January 1st of 2017, I released the iconic picture where my hands are up and we have the teal green background with the curtains, and people went crazy. They went crazy for her. They didn't know anything about her. I just had announced her name and the Queen of Screams, which is a play on of Scream Queen. And people were like, wow, she's solid, she's strong. And so then I realized I really had to get cracking on this web series to make her real so we could do the feature film. Well, what happened was the more episodes I was putting out as the web series on, the easiest platform you can on YouTube, because you already have an audience built right there, people just couldn't get enough. They just wanted more and more and more. And so I realized, I couldn't kill her off in a feature film. I had to keep going with this. So here I am on the verge of possibly moving into season 4, and I'm currently writing an origins feature film script. Basically, when we were doing the web series, which was the first time that I was doing the hosting, we film in my living room. So here I was at home. We put up a set. We used the curtains. A friend of mine, he donated his short film that I could host, and one of the producers at the time, he wrote the script for the first episode, and I was not necessarily nervous because I was working with friends, but the dialogue that we first started out with was very intimidating and it was really difficult for me to memorize. So I just wanted to make sure that I got all the words out properly and easily, just flowing off the tongue. And so I believe we shot 2 or 3 episodes at one time. So yeah, and it's on YouTube. It's the first episode of season 1. So that was my first hosting experience. So some of the projects that I have been involved in as Malvolia, the Queen of Screams, is 1031 and 1031 Part 2. Both of those are available through Scream Team Releasing. And basically I just host in the beginning and at the end. I also did host Theater of the Deranged Part 3, which is available on Troma Now. I obviously have my own YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Malvolia, the Queen of Screams. I have 3 seasons on there. There's a mixture of hosting independent horror short films, and there's also skits that we do of the character, because again, acting is my base and my love. And also other projects that I have out right now is Dustin Ferguson's The Last Roommate. It's kind of like a single white female meets really creepy characters. And so that was a huge experience. I know starting out 2020, I wanted to have a challenging role that would take me out of my comfort zone, and maybe people might have not seen me in that light. And let me tell you, The Last Roommate hits every single one of those requests that I had. So I'm done with 2020 with all the challenges. So any advice that I can give anybody that wants to either horror host or get into filmmaking is just do it. Be creative, think outside the box, pick up that camera and just do it. A lot of people never get started, and that's because of a lot of fear of failure or fear of success, whatever it is. That's what always holds a lot of people back. There really is no excuse not to do what you want to do nowadays. I mean, we all have, cameras on our phones. We all have DSLRs. I mean, anything that seems to be a device has a camera on it. So there's no reason not to pick it up and just be creative and experiment. Not everything is going to be perfect. Not everything is going to go the way that you want it to go. And sometimes those are blessing in disguises. You can do so much pre-production and hope that everything is going to fit the way that it needs to fit. But when you get on set, you might run out of time. This one setup might have not worked at this one location that you have. So you got to think outside the box and just go with what you have and what you know. And then usually everything always works out for the best. So stay positive, stay hopeful, and then just do it.
In the 1980s, breakdancing was all the rage in Florida and Southern California. It was a popular style that would soon spread across the country thanks to the nationwide success of movies like Breakin'. One of the original pioneers of the genre is a man who goes by the name The Egyptian Lover. He's released breakdance and electro music consistently since he took the scene by storm back in 1982 in Uncle Jam's Army. I've had the pleasure of working with him in the past on a music video I directed for his 2014 single, Freaky Deaky Machine. Today, he's pairing his new album, 1986, and we were able to catch up with him outside the studio for an intimate discussion about his very prolific career.
I think my older brother and my older sister inspired me to make music because they were always listening to music. They loved music. And I remember my sister going to a club one time coming home saying, we heard this record, but it was a long version of a Chic song called Dance, Dance, Dance. And she went out and bought it the next day and played it. I'm like, wow, I want to be in that club life. And then I saw a movie called Thank God It's Friday. And the DJ was in the movie, was just so cool. And he was like, the prettiest girl that came in the club was like, the other guy was begging, bitch, you can't get her for blah, blah, blah. And he was the DJ. And of course, the DJ got all the girls. I'm like, I want to be a DJ. So I wanted to be a DJ, but I didn't know how to make music, but I knew what records to play at the party. So by being a DJ, I knew what records to play, what breakdowns to play, and what got the party hot. But my younger brother actually played music and wrote music. He was a saxophone player, and he used to write music, and I was really impressed. And he saw me listening to Mary Jane by Rick James one day. He said, that's a nice bass line. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you hear the bass line? I'm like, listen to the words. Mary Jane said, start it over and only listen to the bass line. So I started it over, only listen to the bass line. I thought, wow, it's a nice bass line. He said, start it over again, only listen to the strings. So I started over again and only listen to the strings. And the song just came alive to me. He said, keep starting over, and every time you start over, it's something different. So next time I start over, I only listen to the drums. And I heard different things with the drums and the feels, and I'm like, so I broke the whole song apart, piece by piece, where I listened to it over and over again, every part. And that, when I went to the studio, taught me how to put together a song, part by part, while my younger brother teaching me how to listen to a song. So I actually owe my whole career to my younger brother. Thanks, little brother. The name, Egyptian Lover, the Egyptian part came from King Tut, who was a young king who ran his own empire. And I wanted to be like a young man who had his own business and ran my own empire. And the lover part came from a 20 with, a silent film maker. I think he was from the 1920s, I'm not sure. His name was Rudolph Valentino, and I saw one of his movies called The Sheik. And when they put the lights on his eyes and he looked at the women, he was just like, the lover. And I was like, wow, I would love to be something like that. So I got King Tut and Rudolph Valentino together, Egyptian Lover. This is a man who was also a lover, and that's where the name came from. I think the best memories are the very beginning when I was with Uncle Jam's Army. Back in '83, we used to give parties, just DJs, giving parties at the LA Sports Arena with 10,000 party people. And it was just unbelievable. All the speakers we had like 100 Southern Vegas speakers just bumping. And the biggest highlight is when I brought my 808 to the last Uncle Jam's Army party we gave. I brought the 808 drum machine, and nobody knew what a drum machine was back in '83. So I was playing Planet Rock, and around the breakdown, I turned the volume down on Planet Rock and played the 808 drum machine. And everybody kept dancing, so I was like, I got them. They're dancing to a drum machine. And then I turned the hi-hats up, then I turned the cowbell up, then the rim shot up, and now they're just dancing to nothing but a drum machine, but they didn't stop dancing, they just kept dancing. So then I was kind of nervous, like, kind of about to change the beat. And I changed the beat, so they're going boom, 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 boom. It's going boom, boom, cap, boom, boom, cap, boom, boom, cap, boom, 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 boom. So it was a little different beat. And I changed the beat, and they kept dancing. And I was nervous as hell, like, I hope they dance to this drum machine. And they kept dancing, and I heard somebody scream up, what song is that? And as soon as he said that, I said, I got them. They think I'm playing records. So then I started breaking the beat down on 808, turning the toms up, and do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and turning the cowbell, doing different cowbell rhythms, ding, 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 ding. And it was just going crazy with the 808, turning the bass up a little bit from boom, boom to the boom, boom, boom. And the crowd was just going crazy, and they kept singing every time I changed the beat. Man, what songs are you playing? What songs are you playing? Come on, man, tell us. So then the owner of Uncle Jam's Army ran up on the stage and said, man, what songs are those? Those are hot. I said, it's a drum machine. He said, what? I said, it's this drum machine. And he looked at it, he was like, you told me you bought a drum machine? I'm like, what? It sounds just like a record. I said, we need to make a record. So we went to a studio, and we made the beats that were playing at the club, at the party. Yes, yes, yes. And then we made a new song called Dollar Freak, and we heard to put that out. And that was, man, that sports arena show, playing the drum machine for the first time, was probably the highlight of my life. The next project I'm working on 2 projects right now. Pyramix Volume 2, which I'm doing a lot of remixes from old songs like Girls and You're So Fine and Egypt, doing new mixes of the old songs, and also adding some new songs that didn't make 1986 and even some that made 1986, which is another project I'm working on. I did 1984, I did 1985, and now I'm working on 1986, which will probably be out at the end of 2020 or by Valentine's Day 2021. Pyramix will probably come out early 2020. And man, if you haven't heard Pyramix #1, make sure you listen to that. And then Pyramix 2 will be just like that, but probably 2 hours of music nonstop. So I don't know if we're gonna do a vinyl on that, but we're thinking about it. Maybe some 12 inches from that. But you'll definitely see a 2 hour nonstop mixtape from the Egyptian lover called Pyramix 2. So make sure you check that out. And to my fans, man, thank you for all over around the world. Just coming to the parties, the festivals, and just showing your support. Because all the energy you give me, I give it right back. As soon as I go back to the hotel, I'm inspired to write more music, and it's just a vicious circle. Just me getting energy from you, you giving it back to me giving it back to you, and you giving it back to me, and I love it. Thank you.
This shit ain't over. This shit ain't over, y'all. Put the motherfucking hands up one time. Yeah. We started making music in the early 80s, 1983. We made music because it was satisfying to the soul. That shit got right here. Listen to this shit. Listen. Here we go.
Our next stop on this journey through Hollyweird
takes us to the home of famed adult actress and webcam model Alana Evans. Known for her work in the adult field most of her life, she's additionally sang for the Lords of Acid and recently began acting in mainstream horror films. Tonight, she discusses her role as an advocate and the positive change she hopes to bring to the industry.
Hi, I'm Alana Evans. I am a porn star turned webcammer. I've been in the adult industry since 1998. Always did films. I've been a big gamer, so I've found ways to incorporate different aspects of my real life into my career. You know, have fun while you're making your money, right? But as technology changes, porn has changed so much. The people are different, the sets are different, the type of content that they're filming is different. It's a little bit more violent, it's more aggressive. That's not my bag, it never really has been. And so as the industry changed, you know, I moved into more of an advocacy role, but with that, who's going to hire you when you're the one telling everybody how to do things safely? You're a risk. So I found my way into webcamming because I could completely set my own rules, control what I do, what kind of content, what kind of shows I'm doing, and I control my room. And man, once you get that sensation of being completely in charge, there's kind of no going back. I am very lucky because I have the fan base that automatically brings people into my room. You know, people come in, they can't believe they're talking to me. It's the cutest thing. It's great for my ego, let's be real. This is one-on-one, instant reaction. Whereas a porn star, when I started in the 90s, the internet didn't exist like that at all. Nobody trusted it. Porn sites didn't exist. And so there wasn't an instant gratification like there is now. Meaning, I film a movie, I'm gonna wait 6 months before maybe it hits the shelves. And then you'll go to a trade show 6 months later, and maybe a few people know who you are. And then maybe the next year, you've got a line around the corner and you've got legit fans. But it took work. It took fan clubs. Now, social media, webcamming. The internet changed everything. You could take pictures up of yourself, build your own little fan page, and you're a superstar in a matter of minutes without filming one actual movie. And webcamming is no different. I can be one-on-one with that fan who's having their own carved, intimate experience with me. At that point, I'll give them control because I'm still the only one touching me. I'm the only one interacting with myself and my physical being. You know, I'm safe. I'm not going to get sick. I'm going to have fun on my terms. And, you know, in that moment when the show's over and they're throwing money at you or they're leaving these amazing reviews, you know right then and there how happy you just made that fan. And now they're going to be a fan for life. They're going to buy all your content. They're going to go to all your social media. They're going to come to your camera room again and again and again. And that totally beats that waiting period, you know? Even now, though, it's still an instant with the other girls being able to do porn. It's really quick, but when you're on set, it's still incredibly different and far more difficult. And being the president of the Adult Performers Actors Guild, we're the union for porn performers, webcammers, content producers, phone sex operators, texters, because we all work in the same fields. You know, if you do one thing, chances are you're doing everything. And so for us, it just made sense to be able to streamline all of that into one place. And a big part of our membership is webcam models. And something else that we're dealing with is a new law in California called AB5. And it is basically a court decision about independent contractor status versus employee status that is making many people that were originally independent contractors, freelance workers, employees. And, you know, it works great for porn performers. It's totally necessary. So they have workers' compensation when they're on set because they are at risk. You know, accidents happen and people fall. I have fallen off of a stool with a dildo attached to the middle of it and hit my face on the floor on my way down. I know girls that have fallen out of chairs and hit their jaw on the floor and it broke in 3 places. Like, workers' compensation is important in that life. Can you imagine me being an employee from right here? This is my bed. That's my shelf. It's my ceiling fan. If it falls off, it decapitates me. My homeowner's insurance covers that. It's kind of my fault. So the idea of something making us employees inside of our own homes is going to cost the webcam companies a lot of money. And there are benefits to it. Sure, we would get to keep all of our tips because in the state of California, an employee can't take them. And as a webcam model, for many of the sites, what the viewers at home don't realize, if we're lucky, we only take home 32% of that tip. It means the rest of the 68% that you just gave us because we gave you a really great show just went to the company owners. And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of girls. I totally get that. I feel it because it's the same on all of those platforms we work for. But instead of complying with what is now the law as of January 1st, 2020, the companies are firing the girls. When you're Uber or Lyft, if you fire your drivers, you don't have business in that state because you physically absolutely need them. You can't outsource to a driver in Nevada because they have to be here. But when you're a cam company, that's exactly what you can do. you can shut off access to those states and basically fire your models across the board. And that's what's happening. And, you know, my organization supported AB5 with the idea that porn performers were going to be employees because that's what needed to happen. And now that it's causing my friends to lose their jobs because it affected people that no one understood, there was no mention of it until, December 6th, 2019? So a couple weeks before Christmas, girls are getting fired. No idea how they're going to pay their rent come February because they can't log in. It's crazy. So moving forward, there has been talks of a cleanup bill. And, you know, I can't sleep at night. It's a real thing that's happening right now. And I know that this isn't my fault. I get that. But it's still hard to not feel as if I was a part of it, especially because I didn't understand how it was going to affect my own job. We're talking about how I pay my bills here. And so I immediately jumped to the ground. We contacted the California Labor Federation, which is the union of all unions in California. They had a meeting with us. We brought webcam performers, discussed the concerns and what our fears were. And they immediately told us about the cleanup bill that is working to create exemptions for people being affected in ways like my entire workforce. And I'm really excited because at this point, this is where I realized that all the hard work that I've put into the union thus far is completely paying off. We already have a meeting set with the author of AB5 because I know her personally. And she's already spoken to the people with California Labor Federation, and at this point completely understood where we were all coming from, was disappointed that this is how it's turning out, and agreed that she would make exemptions for our workforce. So I'm really thankful about that. It's an odd position for me to be in, where one side of my workers absolutely need this law and it's important for them, and then the other side of my workers it just doesn't make sense for. And so from that point, it's going to the cam companies, it's talking to them about these tip levels, because the other reality is this law right now basically means that every single cam performer in the state of California can sue every single webcam company that they've worked for back pay and tips and lost revenue since April of 2018. That's a lot of money. And it gives us bargaining power to have discussions about cutting those tips, giving girls more of the money that they're actually earning for themselves. Because as it is, they still only see 32% of that, per minute fee that they're getting anyway. So camming has been a very crazy world for me. I got into it because it was fun and I enjoyed it. I play video games while I webcam. That's a big part of what I do. So for me, it's all about the entertainment side of it as well. But I certainly never thought that I would find myself in a position here where I'm fighting legislation for my job, to save our jobs and to try to bring the work back, because I'm pretty sure that when, Lorena Gonzalez authored this bill, she didn't expect that people would get fired over it. I think it's really important for the fans to speak out, get involved, ask questions of the companies that you're giving your money to. If you start putting pressure on them about how we get paid, you can actually help make the changes for us. We're a solid voice together. We're the workers, but it's your money that they're earning, and so are we. I always encourage everyone to vote. I think it's the most important thing, especially the girls in the industry. If you don't pay attention to the way that things are changing around the industry that you work in, you totally will miss the boat. And I think that's the biggest thing, that is the biggest lesson here, because the cam companies had no idea that this was happening. They had no idea that this was affecting them in the way that it has. They didn't understand until December. I mean, let's be real. I worked on the legislation in a sense. I helped, I marched, I spoke out. And even I didn't understand that it would affect our jobs in the way that it did. And I think it's really important for people to just be involved and pay attention. A lot of girls talked about how they had no idea what AB5 was. But we've been talking about it since March. We've been talking about it for, what is that, 7-8 months before the hammer even came down. And I think that's the biggest lesson that girls learn. You know, you can pay attention to technology. We all know the latest cameras that are coming out, which one's going to make our skin look the best, which light is going to take away the most shadows. We know every detail about that. I can tell you exactly how to make all the programs work. I'm a blonde. People would assume that I'm not that intelligent. You know, I get it all the time. It's totally okay. I think it's less intimidating to people, but we are our own boss. We create the entire facade that you see as a viewer. We put so much of our sweat and literal tears into our jobs, and I think that we definitely deserve the compensation for it. We deserve the appreciation for it. But like I said in the beginning, we get it at the end of every single show. We know how happy they are, or if it didn't go that well. Let's be real, it happens. You don't always know. People have odd usernames, you know. If you come into my room and your name is Mr. Small, I might think that you're into small penis humiliation. I might start talking shit to you. It's not my fault. That's happened. Camming is amazing, and I don't think, unless technology changes and gives us the next new thing, in-room VR with body sensory technology, then this is where I'll be, in my bedroom on my webcam.
Next, we caught up with monster actor Alan Maxon, who provided us with a little insight on what it's like portraying some of Hollywood's most memorable creatures.
I am a huge fan of monster movies, even to the point where, when I was a kid, I wouldn't buy VHS or DVD unless it had an alien or a creature or a monster in it. You know, it's like movies with humans only are boring. You know, if you're gonna waste 2 hours to escape from the world to watch a movie, why would you watch something that you can see in real life? I want to see something that I cannot see in real life. And that's where you have monsters and aliens and creatures and things that are awesome and visually beautiful to look at. That's what I think is cool about monster movies. When you watch movies, the most memorable character, to me at least, is always the non-human character. And that's also the characters that I wanted to have the action figures of. You want the poster on your wall of. You don't want the human. It's boring. And so I sought out being a creature actor, and I do not regret it because it is the most fun thing in the entire world, and I'm gonna keep going until I can't because, man, it's just awesome looking in the mirror and seeing yourself as a monster. And when you're acting, it's much more, to me, it's much more fun than acting as a human because you are otherworldly. There's no rules to it. And you get to just let out the animal instinct in you to bring that character to life. It's so much fun. I love it. I've had a lot of very memorable roles that I love. One of them is I got to play the right head of King Ghidorah in Godzilla King of the Monsters for 2019's movie, and we did that with motion capture, and that one will always stand out to me as special in my heart because it really changed the game for me, and it really got a lot of attention and eyes on me, and helped me to book future roles because of what we did in that film. And that one is particularly special because most creatures you play by yourself, just like any other actor. But this one, since it had 3 heads, they wanted a different personality for each head. And so they took 3 different actors and they tied us together and threw us in a motion capture volume, and that's how we played it. It was great. It was a ton of fun, and it was an experience of a lifetime. And I hope Legendary calls us back for more. That'd be a ton of fun to do another one. So that one stands out to me as a very memorable experience. And another one is actually I got to play Blade in the Puppet Master film Blade the Iron Cross. What they did was Tom Devlin had the regular sized puppets that he would puppeteer, but then during heavier stunt scenes or running scenes or full body shots, Tom built a full suit to fit me, and they filmed me on a green screen. And then John Lachago, the director, he just composites it into this shot that they filmed on set and shrink me down. So that was awesome because I've been a huge Puppet Master fan my whole life. And it's just super cool to get to play a character that you literally had action figures of as a kid and you watched the movies growing up in your living room, you know, so that was a great experience for me. If anybody is interested in being a creature actor, all I can say is just train as an actor. I mean, it's no different. You have to have a motivation, you have to have a character, you have to have a background, and you just have to think about those things and the script and perform it. And it has to be real and it has to feel real. You can't just snarl and bite somebody. That's not acting. You have to have actual thought and intentions as your character. So I suggest if you want to be a creature actor, study real acting. Just be an actor and train physically, because it takes a lot of endurance and strength and just concentration and patience really to do creature acting. You got to be under a lot of heavy prosthetics and suits, so it can be claustrophobic sometimes, it can be hot sometimes, very uncomfortable sometimes. So, you know, just train, be physically fit and in shape. As an actor, I've played over, I think, 60 or more creatures, all under prosthetics or makeup or suits. And that's for TV, film, commercials, music videos, the whole kit and caboodle. But along with being a creature actor, I'm also a filmmaker. I've made 2 movies in the past. One of them is called Christmas with Cookie, and the other one is called Patina. Both are available on Amazon, on streaming and Blu-ray. And so if you want to make a film, don't be afraid to start embarrassingly low. Just make stuff. Just do it. Get out there. Alan Maxon, signing off.
In early 2018, California legalized recreational marijuana in most of the state. In a matter of days, there were new shops around every corner, some even offering their own delivery services. Deep in the Hollywood Hills rests the High Church. Not only can you score some of the highest quality marijuana on this side of SoCal, but they offer spiritual awakenings in the form of a dab hit with any donation. Let's take a peek inside. Cameras, while not illegal, are forbidden by shop owners, so we were forced to go undercover to bring you the insight needed on this rapidly growing new industry. Here, you can find nearly any strain you are after, whether it's indica for a more energetic and clear high, or sativa for a more relaxed and calm high. Different strains have different effects on the body. There are many strains recommended by professionals in this industry said to have the ability to fight anything from minor depression, insomnia, and eating disorders to even some forms of cancer. With new research findings being released every day, we continue to learn more about the many benefits of the plant, as well as the economic growth the state receives from taxing the product. With many other states following California's lead, soon, the days of reefer madness should be over, and countrywide it will become available to practically anyone in need. After getting stoned at the High Church, we made one final stop at the nursing home of drag queen the Goddess Bunny, a model with a very disfiguring form of polio. She was all the rage in the late 80s and early 90s in the Hollywood underground scene. Her distinct, odd body structure, combined with her sassy wit and fun personality, made her irresistible to fellow celebrities. Even 90s shock rocker Marilyn Manson befriended the goddess, even giving her a role in his award-winning The Dope Show music video in 1998. Today, she goes by the name Sandy Crisp and resides at a nursing home in West Hollywood. We were able to catch up with her for a few moments, and she was kind enough to reflect on some of her most memorable experiences as the reigning underground queen of entertainment.
Well, back in the early 80s, I came to Hollywood basically to be an out-and-out just a gay boy, and I was living at a home by the name of Michael Venegas. Met a person by the name of Jackie Secuto who gave me a challenge. They were having a contest for Miss Gay Universe, and I started making a dress, trying on makeup, learning how to do wigs, and lo and behold, Bunny Victoria Venice was born.
Amazing.
I was the first runner-up of Miss Gay Universe opposite Heather Fontaine, and this was back in 1981.
And since 1981, you've had quite the career. You've done a lot of things, worked with a lot of people. Do you want to tell us about some of that?
Well, I worked with Michael Jackson on Thriller. I've worked with Marilyn Manson, Dr. Dre, Gloria Estefan. I was in a play called Boogeyman, which was at the LA Theater Center. And I've done odd jobs here and there. Last year I did a movie called Scumbag.
Can you tell us a little bit about that movie?
Scumbag is about South Central Los Angeles. Has to deal with, well, if you watched it, you would be you have to be smoking weed to watch it. Because that's the only way it makes sense. Basically, it's about phone callers, people that call you to sell you something, and what goes on in the offices of those phone company sort of things, and what they get away with.
What was your part in the film?
Well, I go to this nightclub, and the man who I'm drinking with gets jumped in an alley, and I pull out a can of hairspray and a lighter, and I end up chasing the bad guys away with my hairspray and lighter. Using my hairspray as a flamethrower, I become the hero of the film. So,
Sounds like a lot of fun.
yeah, it was interesting.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your experiences that you remember working with Marilyn Manson?
Well, Brian, as I know him as, great guy, great sense of humor, very intelligent. I wish these women would stop thinking that he's this macho straight guy, because we all know he's not. I mean, any man who wears more blush than I do, and he's telling people he's a drag queen. All right? Get over it, girls. So he's got a big schlong. Get over it. Most drag queens do. Hello. But Brian called me one day, and I was out in the Echo Park. And he goes, I want you to be in a video. And I said, okay. Who's it with? Marilyn Manson. Well, who is she? He goes, well, it's me. Marilyn Manson? He goes, yeah. Marilyn Monroe and Charlie Manson. I go, okay. Interesting concept, all right? So, show up. We're in back of the Superior Court building. Of course, they have this great big old stage that's like 13 feet in the air. There's no way I can jump my wheelchair up this thing. All right? I can't climb the ladder. That's out. So basically, the first day I got paid for nothing. So, second day we went over to Simi Valley, and we used a museum that was shut down. And this museum was a giant donut. And they put a plaster of Paris over my boobs to make boobs on his chest. So you're looking at my tits, boys, on Brian's chest. And Brian was such a sweetheart. Because during the 1998 MTV Awards, the costumer, hairstylist, and makeup artist didn't show up. And the girls that were backup singers, their dresses were still on the bolt of material. I had to act swift and quick. I called the supply area Universal Amphitheater. Said I need a can of gold spray paint and I need a can of pink spray paint. They sent it over. I put all the boots upside down on the parking pillars. And me and my assistant spray painted all the pairs of boots pink, and then the gold. The girls got the gold ones, the boys got the pink ones. They got all their uniforms on them. I had to sit there and make a dress over the girls while them laying down on the ground, and we hot glued them into the dresses. And that's how the dresses were put on them girls.
Wow, wait for you to jump in.
And Brian goes, I owe you I'll say you owe me. Saved your bacon.
Is there anything you want to say to your fans then? You'd like to say to them?
Well, I want to thank you for all your years of dedication on this old queen. And thank you for all your warm messages I get on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. You ever try fighting with the President of the United States on Twitter? It's a lot of fun. Especially since he comes ill-equipped with brains.
Oh, exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
This country is filled with all walks of life. The rich, the famous, the beautiful, the poor, the ugly, and the weird. And Hollywood is no exception. For in reality, there's beauty in everything, especially the strange and weird. We can learn from what we don't understand, and once we all understand each other better, we can grow together and take humanity to a higher place. This has been Dark Infinity, and until next time, stay weird.
10 tours last night, so my voice is kind of hoarse.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so let's start with.
I'm looking.
Look, you can look into the camera. Yep, talk right to the camera. Okay.
I had my dress picked.
Looks beautiful.
Anything that gives me this slim right now.
Okay, so we're gonna start out. We'll have you talk a little bit about why you decided to step back from the film work and get into camming and more mainstream films.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
How's my language? Clean? Does it matter?
Oh no, you can cuss all you want. It's
I'm
R-rated.
talking about camming. So.
Yeah, like make it as raunchy as you want. It's fine.
Alright.
Go for it.